Hi everyone, Jeremiah here today, and I have my former student, Jade Popper, and we're going to be discussing how Jade, who was a former student, is now a kick butt opera singer and teacher. Jade, could you introduce yourself and describe your musical experience prior to our lessons?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So, before I came to SMC and studied with Dr. Selby, um, I did a bit of music in college. I got accepted to do my vocal performance degree at Monash University in Melbourne. And as somebody who has never had a single music theory lesson, just sang in honor choir, I struggled. So it was really, really hard for me. My private teachers weren't really able to get me up to scratch. And, even with the love of singing and the gift of singing, I just couldn't complete that portion of my degree. So I ended up switching to do philosophy. And I got a philosophy Bachelor of Arts degree. And I moved back home after living in Australia, and I decided I really miss singing. I was working for my father doing advertising, and I was doing well, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And so my friend said, "You need to go to Santa Monica College. They have an amazing opera program." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just take a couple classes and maybe do some choir, and it'll fulfill me in that way." And it took me on a totally different path. And I'm so grateful for the educators there and for Dr. Selby for seeing the potential I had to change my life basically and do what I really love doing. Um, I would have never imagined I'd be where I am today, actually.
So, what I hear you saying, Jade, is that before you started at SMC, which is a two-year college, your prior experience was that you didn't have an undergraduate music degree, correct?
I started it and I just was trying. They put me in counterpoint theory classes, and I didn't know how to read the staff. It was it was just so hard for me, and I had no support. So
Yeah,
I failed out of it. And even
yeah.
with like private tutors, I tried to get a couple tutors. I just had no way of grasping what they wanted from me. So
hmm
it just didn't work out. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're looking forward to your story unfolding now that we know the beginning of it.
Yes.
So I have just a few follow-up questions about your time before you were taking lessons. How long had you been singing in choir? How long had you been singing as a soloist?
Yeah.
And what was your impetus to start singing again seriously?
Yeah, so in high school, I worked with the incredible educator Joel Pressman at Beverly Hills High School, and he is and was a force of nature. He inspired so many people to continue working in choral music and as musicians. And he was basically like the reason I would go to school. I hated school. I hated math. I hated everything. I didn't want to do it. But every day I was like, I'm going to sing in madrigals today. I'm going to get to do choir and be with these group of people. So I just fell in love with it. It was the one thing that kept me going as a teenager. I did theater as well, and I sang some solos in choir, but I was really just so in love with choir and enamored with it. My first year, I sang in the all-female choir, and then the second year, I was so determined to get into the advanced choir, the madrigals, and I auditioned as a soprano, and of course, 47 soprano. So I didn't get in as a soprano, and I said, "Mr. Pressman, I want to be in it so badly." And he said, "Can you try learning the alto part?" So I learned the alto part by ear, and he said, "Okay, you'll be an alto." So he put me in as alto one, and I hated it, but I did it, and I was really grateful to be in it. And then my last year, senior year of high school, I became his TA for all three choirs. I just wanted to be involved as much as I could. And
hmm
my dad actually was nervous about me following music as a career because he, all parents are worried about income source. And he went and had a chat with with Mr. Preston. And he was like, "Can she do this?" And he's like, "She's crazy." But yes, she can. So that was his sense of humor. And so that, yeah, that's what pushed me to do it in college. And then, when the things happened in college, I was just so grossly underprepared. It was kind of devastating. I felt like I lost a little bit of my identity because I
Hmm.
always saw
Hmm.
myself doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't really see myself doing anything else.
So you are persistent. That's definitely something I've seen in you over the years. So one more question before we move on to what lessons were actually like. Before you started taking lessons with me, what were the goals when you first started taking lessons? What goals did you have in taking lessons?
Well, I needed to get to a level with my music reading and understanding of music notation, and you were just such a good guidance for me with that. And I really also needed to get to a point where I wanted to be a professional choral singer. I said that to you. I looked at your professional choir and I was like, how can I be one of those people? And so you sat down with me and you were like, we need to make sure that you can sight read and that you can, match pitch perfectly, even though that wasn't something I really struggled with, but it was still like, you need to know the intervals, like you need to understand how these things work, and you need to have good rep that suits your voice and understand your voice type. So those were the things we really worked on together, and just making me a musician more than a singer. I had always been able to sing, but I think you and SMC gave me the ability to be a musician.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So, you've talked about this a little bit, but what were your frustrations in trying to achieve those goals of becoming a better musician, finding the right repertoire, learning to train your ear in the ways that you needed to train to accomplish your goals? What were some of the frustrations in achieving those goals? And then also, contrarily, what are some of the things that we worked on that maybe helped you get past those frustrations? If you can think of specific examples, that would be great.
Hmm. I had never had a structured music theory lesson. So actually, like having a course, and a course in which I had a book to learn from and to study, and like I'm a very good student. I just need order, and Dr. Selby is an incredibly ordered teacher. He will make sure that you have homework, that you have assignments that you need to follow in order to achieve your goal. Having a sight reading every week, having, different intervals to listen to every week, and making sure that you are able to achieve that with a positive outcome. That's what I needed. I never had anybody commit time to me in the way that you did, that was like, you can learn this, like there isn't a knowledge gap, you are smart, you can figure this out. Especially with rhythm. um, that was another thing. You were just so patient with me. You're like, these are the time signatures. Like I didn't know any of this. I didn't know time signatures. It's crazy how much I've learned from you all as educators. So I'm so grateful.
Amazing. Wow. So what what so speaking to those frustrations, were there any surprises in other goals that you achieved that you weren't planning on, but were surprise goals and they made you more motivated to continue on?
Um, I think just passing music theory was a surprise for me, to be honest, because I had failed it 3 times. And so just having the right educator, having you and the other people at SMC explain it to me in an environment where I felt safe to learn, and um, challenged, but not too challenged in the way that I gave up. That that's what got me there. And it's crazy because I went on to continue and do my master's, and I was doing master's level music theory. And I was like, I just learned the note names 3 years ago. And I got an A in that class. So once it gets once
Wow.
it clicks, once it clicks. And I actually became the music theory tutor at SMC as well. for about a year, which was awesome. Teaching others really helps you get it as well.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So, okay, let's talk about more specifically about the things that have improved. So you've talked about how your ability to hear music, your ability to read music, your ability to sing improved. Those are the areas you've identified. But by being with me as your teacher, by how much would you say that improved over the course of, was it 2 years or a year and a
Yeah,
half or something? Yeah.
it was 2 years. Um, so through going through the program and through private lessons with you, I think it was a full 180. I was unable to read music. I didn't really even know what bass clef was. I had gone from basically just singing in madrigal choir and having, a sort of idea of soprano and alto melody to like writing counterpoint, hearing intervals, like singing really challenging music, singing Barber with you, and um, you know, getting ready to apply for my master's as a
Hmm.
vocal performance major. So that is insane to do in 2 years, especially one of which online. um,
Right, because
Crazy. Yeah,
you, our last, well, I remind me, was it 2 semesters online or how many semesters were online?
it was 2 semesters online. Yeah.
That's crazy. So half of
But
your
I
time
did have 3 years at SMC.
prior.
My first year was with you in the choirs. I was just doing choir and
Hmm.
opera, and then 2 years through the program. So in 3 years, I would say it was a
Great.
full. Yeah.
That's amazing that you had that much improvement. So I just want to highlight too, that a lot of this success, I would say the bulk of this is you, because, as a teacher, we can provide that framework. But if you don't execute and you don't apply yourself, which you said, I'm a good student, and I agree with you, like you wholeheartedly go after it, you just need the framework and the structure. And so, kudos to you to going from entering as not collegiate level musician
Mhm.
to being able to apply for a master degree program, not a bachelor program, but a master degree program to get in and to also be able to become a TA. That's a massive improvement, and that speaks really highly of your persistence and motivation. So that's really cool. Um, I've told you why I think you improved because you're uh, you're so persistent, but you've maybe answered, but I'm going to give you the space to talk about why you think you improved. You can also talk to how your musicianship has improved or how your performance ability and confidence improved from taking lessons with me. If any of that resonates with you, I'm just going to give you an open space to talk about any of that.
Yes, I think having the ability to perform in front of peers and have you kind of help me choose repertoire and say like this isn't too hard for you, like you can definitely do this if you apply the skills that we've been doing with the musicianship. You can sing really hard rap that caters to your voice, and you don't have to be singing the 24 Italian art songs. Like we can do things that have crazy intervals or a little bit atonal. And I would have never, ever, ever approached music like that before I studied with you. And I think also through singing in your choirs and how inspiring the music choices you have in your choirs inspired me as a solo singer to kind of approach music outside of like a diatonic experiment, more experimental and more unique. And as a soprano, there's a lot of amazing rep in the new music space. And also, my musicianship in our lessons, you were just so kind and fair, and it's like, okay, that wasn't right, but we're gonna find a new tool to get that to be right. And even in technique, like I still use one of your warm-ups with my students all the time, where we do the woo, 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 woo. That's just such a good way of reaching between the passaggio, and I love that warm up so much. And you just taught me so much. As it's I feel like as an educator, you would relate to this. All of your teachers just kind of come through you when you teach. And I'm always like, oh yeah, Dr. Selby taught me that. And I just liked how structured you are. I am a
Mhm.
person that needs structure. So you gave me the syllabus with all the warm-ups that we were going to do in our lessons, and I would study those and I would be prepared for them, and I would know what was coming. It wasn't any surprises, and I was able to achieve things because I knew what I needed to do and what I didn't quite have yet and what I was working towards. And that's what I need in a teacher. I need somebody who's like, this is what we got to do and this is where we're going to get to. So
Mhm.
I really appreciated that with you.
Well, thank you. It's a little humbling to hear you talk because you're so amazing now, and you were then too. So, what I hear you saying too is that, well, you're not saying this, but I'm going to say this. You are now an educator, and you're an opera singer, which is amazing. You finished your master's degree last year. You're now singing all over. You're getting paid to sing and paid to teach. So now your dad's probably less worried. Is that the case?
Much less worried. Yeah, he's texted me today. He said he's really proud.
Yes, it's a win. So I have maybe two other questions to wrap this time up together. Why would you recommend others work with me, or maybe not?
Hmm. Yeah, I would 100% recommend others to work with you. But they would have to be the kind of person that needs structure and discipline in their life. And that is who I am. Not necessarily a structured and disciplined person. So I like having a teacher that is able to give me the framework to find that within myself. And I didn't know I was capable of such structure and discipline until I studied with you. It really it really set me up for my master's degree and for who I am as an educator now, because um, being a musician, when I was younger, I thought I just get up and sing. I just get to sing and be pretty. But that's not the case at all. That's
We
the
all
side
wish it
effect.
were that easy, don't we?
Yes, and when you're 16 to 18, that's what you think, right? You think, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm a good singer. Everyone tells me I sing well. I'm going to do that." And that's what I went into college thinking, and I was very quickly humbled. And it actually really suited me how hard you have to work to make it happen. So I think, especially as an educator now, I see people struggling and I'm like, "Ugh, I've been there. Like, I can relate to what you're going through." And that's why I think I'm a good teacher now, because it didn't come easy to me. So
Mhm.
I know I've been there. And I think you gave me the tools to find that discipline within myself.
So you may have already answered this last question. What type of person do you think the studio is a good fit for? And you would say someone who needs structure, who needs discipline. Would you like to add anything else to that, or do you feel like you
Yeah,
adequately answered that?
I think even if they already are a structured and disciplined person, I think that would also be a really good match for you, because I think it would just further enhance what they were working on. Um, Somebody who can be okay with not being perfect and find patience with themselves, and um, find that their leader is there as a reflection of you. So if you have a goal, you're going to help them get to that goal. It doesn't matter if it's a small goal or if it's a ginormous goal, like becoming a paid professional singer in a choir. Like that seemed so out of reach to me, and I achieved it within 3 years after working with you. So I think, anybody who has goals in music should study with you, because you really do know how to set things up for success in the future. Yeah.
Awesome, Jade. It was really great to hear about your progress so far, and thank you so much for sharing with everyone else. And
Yeah.
I will see you soon.
Yay!